Hi, welcome to the Farm Show. I am your host, Wendy Dick with Manitoba News and Sports. Today we will be talking to Heartwood Pastures with Matt and Janelle. They actually live pretty close to me, and I can't wait to get to know them a little better. Just add them on. Hi.
Hi.
Hi. So, we don't actually know each other that well, but we only actually live a few miles apart. So I'm actually pretty excited about this. Um, yeah. So can you guys tell me how you got started with Heartwood Pastures?
You can take
Sure.
that.
Well, I guess going back 10 years or so, I was dairy farming together with my dad and my brother, and I guess they were both taking other turns, and so I wasn't really up for dairy farming by myself or together with just Janelle. So also moved on from that, but wanted to stay in the farm or in the whatever similar cattle industry at least, and so um, kept raising some Holsteins for beef, I guess, after we moved from the dairy farm, and kind of just added on the other products from there over the last 5 to 7 years, I guess.
Okay. So how have you found it having the Holsteins for a meat animal with the grass and alfalfa? Like without
We,
having that high energy feed on the with them.
yeah, well, actually, we just butchered our last Holsteins, I don't know, just less than a year ago. So we have moved
Oh,
away from Holsteins now. Um,
okay.
it was a really good product, but we wanted a more sustainable one where we weren't as susceptible to the markets and buying animals all the time. We wanted our own herd where we could know what we were getting for the next season, kind of a thing. So we've moved to our own herd of mostly Simmentals and now moving to some Red Angus.
Okay, nice. So, you guys have been going to the farmers markets and selling there?
Yes, we have been at the Winkler Farmers Market for
5 years.
5 years now.
Okay,
This was actually our second summer in Morden.
okay,
Yeah.
all right. So how has that been, the farmers market?
It kind of changes every year. Some years it seems really good. Some years it's a little bit slower. This year in Morden, then they had the food program, so that really increased our sales. Winkler was a little bit lower, but still overall, I think a good market season.
What's the food program?
It's funded by the federal government, and so I think you have to apply. I guess it depends on which market. Not every market gets approved for the program. This was just their first year doing it, so you can apply mostly if you're low income. And then you get a sheet of coupons that are the whole sheet is worth $21, and then you can
Okay,
use it for meat, vegetables, um,
Eggs.
eggs, fruit.
that's great.
Yeah,
It was a part of the federal government's COVID response or whatever. So they did
Okay.
a granting program to a few communities, Winnipeg being one of them, and then Carmen and Morden were also in that program this year.
That's great because it helps both sides out.
exactly.
Uh, Yeah, but I saw that you guys have a very nice website.
Oh,
How is it to make a website and start selling online? I feel like people are going that direction. You guys hopped on there pretty quick.
yeah. It was okay making the website. The store was the tricky part because all of our products weigh a different amount.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was tricky. Do we um, do it price per package and then you just kind of average it out on the weight? But we decided that we would just put all of our items on the store and then you just enter your quantity that you want, and then we pack it up and then send an actual invoice once the order is packed up that
Okay.
has total on it, and then you pay that way.
Okay, nice. So I've seen from your social media pictures, like it's a very much a family farm. Like you guys have put your heart and soul into it. We were just talking barely about the biggest little farm. So for people who haven't heard of this, it's this documentary about kind of regenerative farming and really sustainable farming, and it's not the easiest process. Can you tell me a bit about your farm and how it connects to that?
Yeah, I guess this is our first actual season. We're desperately trying to finish our first season of cropping under our own farm name.
Mm-hmm.
After my dad passed away, actually, just almost 2 years ago, and so we did last year on my mom's behalf, and then this year for the first time are farming on our own, and trying our best to move away from the conventional practices of grain farming, um, like they show in the documentary as well. It's a much bigger picture thing, kind of. We're trying to incorporate everything. We just finished grazing our cattle on our sunflower field. We're things like that, where we're trying to look after the whole system, not just growing cash crops on one hand and growing market beef on the other hand, or whatever. Trying to incorporate the system. I guess for me, the part that of the documentary that probably, well, I mean, it was the most emotional part of the documentary was probably the predators, aside from the dog. I guess we got a dog this year too, but that's aside. The predators that they had to deal with have, yeah, it's been a real struggle for us as well. We lost far too many chickens to the coyotes this year. That
Okay.
a lot of them right in our neighborhood here, and I had a lot of people suggest or even offer to come take care of the coyotes for me, which
Mm-hmm.
it yeah, last year we lost the chickens to the owl. There's always, that's probably where it hits home the most, once you have to actually start taking losses while trying to protect the whole system, rather than just protecting your own portion of the system.
Yeah, it's after watching that documentary, it's really opens your eyes to a different way of farming that I don't think a lot of people understand.
Yeah.
The idea of just dealing with the problem instead of letting nature take care of it the way that it can run in a cycle, right? Yeah. And then, so I guess, what are your goals going forward with those kind of farming practices? Are you hoping to implement more of the regenerative farming in the years coming?
Yeah, certainly. We're, yeah, definitely trying to, I guess the place that regenerative is easiest to see probably is in the acres of, well, cultivated acres, which we stopped cultivating actually as part of our regenerative processes. We did do 100% no-till this season, and so yeah, moving more in the direction of crops that we can grow without tillage, less fertilizers, less inputs in general, things that are more sustainable on their own, um, things that trying to improve our soil health by the crops that we grow rather than inputs. Not only because, I mean, there's definitely benefits to that in the long run too, from what we've seen from other people that have more experience with lowering inputs, because the inputs are getting a little out of control for a mid-30s farmer trying to get into it, and you're supposed to front the bills for crop inputs. It's a big hill to climb to try to get into the system with the
Oh,
conventional inputs. So
I 100% can feel for that and relate. For small farmers, you almost wonder if this kind of farming is maybe the option when you can't be buying all those things, right? Um, so how, for the people who don't really understand a no-till, how would that be different? Like, what are crops that you can put in for no-till versus tilled field?
I think probably most crops we would be able to. I mean, there's some that we're choosing not to grow because of their soybeans, for example. We're choosing not to grow them at all because they just they leave your soil really exposed and difficult to manage. Um, they don't have a lot of organic matter, and so you're having to make a lot more herbicide passes and whatever to try to keep your weeds down because your soil is very exposed. Yeah, I guess we're trying to keep our soil covered as much as possible. So I'm trying to look at that when making my crop choices. Certainly, the goal, as we, yeah, the soil's coming from, I don't know. My grandpa started using herbicides on most of it in the 60s, and so we're coming away from 50 plus years of dependence on these synthetics. So it probably won't go as fast as we would like it to, but we would like to move away from the dependence of herbicides entirely. I don't know, that didn't exactly answer your question.
No, it's good. It's for, I think for anyone who's tried that, I know I love the idea of it too, but I think anyone who's tried it knows that it's a huge struggle because those weeds, they take over so quickly to fight against them. I know I've tried it even in our own garden to not use the chemicals, and it's an uphill battle the
Yeah.
whole time. Um, and it's not an overnight process. So
Yeah,
I guess you're learning as you go too, right? Some things will work and some won't, and 1 year is one season, right?
yeah, and
Yeah.
I think the thing that first struck me a few years ago before we were doing some no-till with, or minimal till, I guess we had a different seeding tool at the time, but with dad before, but trying to keep the ground covered all the time, because we've noticed even around trees, if you keep a good layer of mulch down there, you can entirely keep weeds out. And it works the same way with crops. If you till the soil and turn it all black, you're going to have a lot more weeds than if you kept it covered. Without a doubt, nature does want the soil to be covered, and if you don't leave it covered, it'll cover itself. So, yeah, half the battle I think is just keeping the soil covered as much as possible. Which even that I'm finding, I mean, stuff is residue from crops breaks down so quickly that from 1 year to the next, it'll take a few years to build that up properly.
Okay. So on kind of the same topic, have you guys been working on pasture rotation with your animals? Have you tried that yet?
Yes, we do. It was more successful this year. Our actual perennial pasture that's just been the farm's pasture for forever. I assume, at least in pictures from the 60s, that when my grandpa had the place, it was already a pasture because it wasn't really usable for anything else. Out there, we've been struggling a little because of the lack of moisture we've had through the summers. We can get one or maybe two good rounds of grazing through there in the summertime, but it doesn't uh, grow back very quickly. But we had
Okay.
pretty good success with the crop that we seeded this spring. We seeded an annual forage just for grazing, 30 acres of it next to our yard here, and yeah, it was really good. We had all our beef animals out there, and they came off of there in fall now with really good weight. So
So what's all in an annual forage?
we, I guess we had 50% of it was oats, just a forage oats, but then we had oh man, I think it was a 7-way mix. Springtime was a long time ago. It's December now. When I carefully looked at the seed tags. I know there was it was a 7-way mix, I guess, for the reason that not everything is actually going to germinate well in springtime.
Okay.
In springtime, everything was really wet, and then by June and July, it was
Mhm.
really dry. So a lot of the radishes came through very well.
Interesting.
It's the same thing that we actually had as our cover underneath our sunflowers that we just finished grazing. The radishes are really good for grazing. There was a couple kinds of clover in there, and those did fairly well in certain areas of the field. It was right up by the yard here, which has been a high saline area for my whole lifetime. So, and getting worse. So we're trying to reverse that now by growing various crops in there.
Oh, that's great. I'm going to stop you for a minute here to do a quick commercial break. Here. And we're back. So off of fields and onto watering systems with so many different kinds of animals, that brings on many different kinds of watering systems. So what have you been using for your animals?
I have a 500-gallon tank that we move around for the cattle that are out in the pasture. Cattle use a really large amount of water. So yeah, that is definitely the struggle. That what people who have gone before us have said, that you get into rotational grazing and you think, well, I'll have a water tank out for my cattle and I'll just go fill it. But if you do that, you use the same track for 7 or 10 days while you're also making a road essentially through your pasture and running down perfectly good forages. So yeah, we've been doing that, but yeah, definitely as some extended water lines would hopefully be in our future. For the chickens, yeah, it's easy enough to 5 gallons is enough for 50 birds for the day, basically, even when they're mature. So it's, we have a small trailer behind our tractor that we can pull around and deliver those 25 or 30 gallons of water quite easily.
Okay. And I think from your pictures, I saw you guys have a chicken tractor as well.
Like for the laying hens,
Do you have chicken tractors?
we do, we moved to hoop style for our broilers. That just also rides on the ground. It's much the same idea. Instead of being low to the ground and flat, it's just a hoop with a tarp over it. So yeah, we have a few of those. We've been using them for a few years now, and we really like that system. It's Manitoba, and there's basically no season that isn't wind season. So basically, well, yeah, we previously had the flat Salatin style tractors, and
Hold on one sec. I think our sound went. Is it back? I think I can hear noise now.
Okay,
Okay. Sorry.
that's okay.
It might be my earbuds. So I'll take them out if the noise disappears again. So you're saying with the wind, the hoop style ones, are they a problem in the wind?
they're not too bad. See, I would rather have the tarp rip off or something, have a buffer there, than having the whole big heavy roof or the whole structure being moved, because I'm less likely to lose chickens if the tarp just rips off. So We
Yeah.
have for a few years, 3 years now that we've been using them probably.
Yeah.
We've had a few storms come through that have taken the tarps off, but the wire structure underneath, which is really just a semicircle of a hog panel,
Okay.
wire structure underneath keeps the chickens there, so we're unlikely to lose birds. We've had a few that have kind of, in the really extreme storms, maybe 2 times, that we've had them actually shift over and maybe pin a couple of chickens. So that's obviously what we don't want.
Yeah. So do you have you had issues with predators and the chicken tractors, or just when they're more free range?
We did last year. The owl was clipping heads actually that I guess came through the wire. That's all that we can figure out. That was the big. If I don't know if you looked through our social media that far, but the big horned owl that we ended up trapping, thinking that we were going to catch a raccoon or something, and instead we trapped a big horned owl.
I did
But
not look far enough back. I missed that. There's
yeah,
you guys trapped an owl.
yeah, with just like a simple live box trap or whatever that we were expecting a
Oh,
skunk or a raccoon or killing just for the enjoyment because it was just clipping the heads off clean, and that was in our hoop style.
Yeah.
But that's really the only problem we've had. Like I said before, our hens were free ranging, and right from springtime, the coyote was pretty brave and basically wandering right into the yard in broad daylight and picking up chickens.
really? Wow.
So that was definitely, yeah. There's a definite cons to basically every system, but
It's true. Yeah, yeah. That I get that. We've been lucky that the coyotes don't get too close, but the dogs have been able to help with that, I think, so
right.
far.
And
So,
we got our dog as a pup in
oh,
so I'm expecting that next summer should be better for that as we give him more territory and he just simply starts to make his presence known. In my growing up at least we never really had problems with them around here, but we always had a farm dog that covered the whole territory. And now we've been a few years without a dog here, so
okay. Yeah, I find them indispensable for keeping the predators off, but it does take a bit to raise them up, right?
yeah.
To be able to do that, especially from a puppy. So, what are your goals for the upcoming year, going into the next season
Any
with the
goals?
farm? Like, is there anything you want to add or change that you've learned from this previous year?
I don't know. I think, yeah, like I say, there's some adjustments we want to make. I want to start regenerating the pasture that I was talking about before. The old pasture, I mean, it can't get worse really for the quality of grazing and so forth. So I want to move the pigs out there and let them.
Oh, yeah.
It's insanely bumpy now because it's just years of cow hooves and whatever. So I think the pigs will help to just level off some of the bumps so that in the future we can hopefully move chickens out there. Right now it's really too bumpy to move the chickens out behind the cows because you have
Okay.
like 12-inch dirt mounds to get over with your hoops and things, so that just doesn't work. So yeah, we want to move the pigs out to that pasture next year. I'd really have that as one of my goals.
So, what breed pigs do you have? What breed are they?
We've had a couple years of purebred Berkshires now.
Okay. Do you like that breed for a specific reason?
They seem to be gaining really consistently. Yeah, we've never had just your typical pink pig out of a hog barn around here. We've always been getting pigs from sources that we knew that were just selling a litter or two kind of a thing. So these are definitely more consistent, more reliable than the previous ones we've had. Not to say, I can't say if that's because of the breed necessarily, or just the genetics of the sows that the farm is keeping. I don't know that, but yeah, they seem to have a good amount of fat, which is a goal for us now. It's funny because just a few years ago, everyone would have been looking for a pork that was lean, and that's probably why most people stopped eating a whole lot of pork because
Kind of a funny thought. Who wants a lean pork? Who wants lean pork?
exactly.
You're eating it for the fat, really.
Yeah.
I noticed that actually a lot of our friends in the area, it seems to be trending right now to go for the pastured pig breeds, the hairy, darker pigs. So I've thought it was pretty interesting how it's been quite the switch, or maybe a switch back, really, to
Right.
more heritage breeds. I think you might be what you call them.
Yeah, and the other thing that when we did have lighter pigs, I guess in the first year, we did have some that were just black spotted or whatever, and had all kinds of issues with heat stroke and sunburns when we moved them out in the first place, which the black pigs just don't have those issues. So even that, for raising them outside we have a roof for shade for them, but even still, they're definitely hardier than the whatever more conventional pigs or more common pigs around here.
Yeah, I don't know the name of the actual pink pig either. I just the pink pig
Yeah,
that's in all the there's a name for them. What kind of with your chicken operation? So do you have the layers and meat chickens like separate breeds, or are you doing like a dual purpose chicken?
we have the Cornish Giants for our broilers, and then we have the whatever Browns classic red chicken for the eggs. We tried. Did we try 2 years? 1 or 2 years? A couple of years ago, we tried the more of a dual purpose or a slower growing variety at least, and they're tough. They need a lot of space, which if we could offer them the space and had the facility for them, I would certainly prefer them because, well, everybody knows that the Cornish Giants have their own list of problems. But
They are fascinating birds. The way they grow, we did them this year. That's what we grew this year, and I couldn't believe how quick it takes for you to have a chicken.
yeah, certainly. And
Yeah.
we've done it for 6 years now, or whatever it is, probably that we've had some chickens, and definitely learned some tricks along the way. But yeah, it's a struggle. But then we had the what are they called from Berg's, the grazers, which is a brown meat bird or whatever, and yeah, they would need a lot of space, and if you don't give them that space, then they're stressed too. So yeah, they
I
definitely
found
not function in the hoop style or whatever.
the brown ones didn't like the hoop style. They didn't
We
like the.
we didn't try them in there.
Oh, okay.
We had them in poultry netting, which poultry netting on our farm has not been a success ever at all.
Really? Because
No.
like we've had ours cooped up and they're cranky. They need more space. I mean, that might be it. They need more space. So I've noticed like when we had the Cornish chickens, they were they're just babies. You could pick them up, but the brown ones, they'll peck you. Like they actually have some fight to them.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and they'll scratch well. The second year that we had them in our trees at the back, and so they had the whole forest basically. Well, we tried to run a netting, but I mean they're up in the trees and they're everywhere. I mean they didn't really go back to the coop for night even.
No.
There lots of them would just stay out and perch in the trees. So it's hard to contain them. So that's why I'm saying if you had the correct facility, I think it's a great bird. I don't mind the slower growth at all. We limit the feed intake for our Cornish all the time because we don't want them to be growing at the rate that they have potential to.
Oh,
But
maybe that's our mistake because we were like, we got to butcher them right now because I never even thought of that. Are you actually supposed to limit? Are you supposed to? We were just free for all feeding these chickens.
the first thing that most people think of when they think of Cornish birds is their cardiac failures because they grow
Yeah.
too fast.
Yeah.
So I guess the simple method, the simple strategy that we try to follow is if we feed them once a day, we're only feeding them enough that they'll be out of feed by 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Other people go with the strategy of going around in the evening and taking away all the feeders, but I don't feel like going around at that time or taking away the feeders, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to move them every day, and we started feeding them on the grass just to get them to scratch more. We don't actually use feeders at all. We just dump the feed right on the grass and move the hoop over top of it. That seems to
Okay.
be working quite well. But yeah, you only want enough feed down for them that they'll be without feed for at least 12 hours of the day, and that has really cut back the number of chickens we've found with purple heads laying on their backs, kind of a thing.
Oh, that's good to know going forward because I think we only had one die, so it wasn't that bad. I think it was one out of I don't know 10 or 13. So,
Not a bad
but
number.
no, they did all right. For chickens, I like having them, but I don't really like getting that close to them. I've joked about it in the past.
Yep.
Like when they have the chicken right up by your head and you're getting the eggs and just the noise they make and the way they look at you.
Yeah, not cool.
No. We in the last week we have got 2 eggs with double yolks. Just
Okay.
huge. Do you guys get those often?
You could come get 5 dozen of them probably from our fridge right now.
Oh, I thought they were this rare thing.
No, we kind of them out. We sort them out because they're a nuisance, obviously, in our regular cartons.
Like they're so big that I can't close the carton.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, they just go into a separate.
Okay, so you keep those for yourself.
Or to us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Together with our cracked eggs or whatever, kind of go family.
Oh, that's fun. I think it's fun. Like the kids love it. I don't know. Is yours probably not old enough yet to get to enjoy that part yet? I know with our 5-year-old anyway, he wants to go count the eggs. He wants to see all the double yolks. They just love it.
Yeah, Tessa, she is loving the chickens. She hasn't quite learned the gentle part of putting the eggs through the basket. So we get a couple cracks if she's helping, but yeah, she loves it.
Our youngest, I don't like bringing him in with the chickens because he will try to feed them, but it's not the feed he's feeding them. He'll just pick up off the ground and try to throw their own. I'm like, no. And we have to go for a bath right after, but it's fun. You know what? I love it, and I'm assuming you guys feel the same way. To raise children on a farm is such a good feeling to see that.
Yeah, she's pretty enthusiastic about everything. So
Yeah. Oh, that's great. So, if people want to come by from you guys, can you just say where they can go to find you guys, hear about you guys on social media?
Yeah, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram, and our website is www.heartwoodpastures.com. Yeah, all of our farming info is on there, info about us as a family. And then we have a little farm store on there where you can purchase all of our meat. And then we have pickup locations in Winkler and Morden. And right now we're trying to limit the number of pickups we have. So we're doing deliveries 2 days a week. to Morden and Winkler for free on orders over $10. Yeah, and then if people want to pick up at the farm, we're always here. There's nowhere to go right now, so we're always here.
Oh, well, that's great. That's great if anybody wants delivery, that they know that they can get in contact with you guys and have fresh farm food delivered from
Yes.
local growers. That's great. I think that's about it. So I just want to thank you guys so much for coming on today and talking about farming with us. And I want to thank Wolf's Enterprises for making this possible. See you guys next time.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.